What I'm about to tell you is gonna make you uncomfortable. The comparison game you've been playing, the one where you measure your chapter 3 against someone else's chapter 20, it was never designed for you to win. Not because the world is against you, but because your mind is running a game with rules that guarantee you lose. Today, I want to change the rules. Welcome to Daily Power Boost. I'm Sean Michael. This isn't a podcast about pushing harder or fixing yourself. It's a space to see clearly how your experience is actually being created. Each episode offers a simple shift in understanding. Not a tactic, not a hustle. A clearer view of thought, identity, and the patterns you've been living inside. Because when misunderstanding drops, relief rises, energy returns. You move forward with calm, sovereign clarity. This is your Daily Power Boost. Welcome back to Daily Power Boost. Here's what the comparison trap sounds like from the inside. They started after me, they're already further ahead. Why is it so easy for them and so hard for me? Maybe I'm just not built for this. And the worst part? It's not the thought. It's what that thought does next. It makes you audit your life against someone else's highlight reel. And you find yourself lacking every single time. Because that's how the game is rigged. You're comparing your internal experience to their external appearance. Your doubt to their confidence. Your behind the scenes to their stage. It was never a fair fight. The last few episodes, we've been tracking how thought shapes everything. Urgency, procrastination, overthinking. All of it created not by what's happening, but by the thought attached to what's happening. Comparison works the same way. Here is what makes it more dangerous than any others. Comparison borrows its power from someone else's life. When you overthink, the loop is yours at least. When you compare, you hand the controls to a person who doesn't even know they're driving. And your mind, trying to protect you, uses their success as evidence of your inadequacy instead of inspiration, as proof you're behind. That's the design flaw. Not in you, in the thought pattern itself. I want to tell you something, and I don't say this lightly. I started my coaching journey over 8 years ago. And then life happened. Imposter thoughts got loud. Steady income felt more responsible than my calling. And I stopped. Not forever, but long enough. When I came back, people I had started alongside were now miles ahead. More visibility, more clients, more of everything that marks progress in this space. And let me be really honest with you about what I felt. It wasn't regret, not really. It was something closer to, my time is still coming, and I'm genuinely glad theirs already has. There's a word for this, compersion. Finding joy in someone else's win, not because it costs you nothing, but because their success was never your competition. I didn't lose 8 years. I was being built in a different room. And everything I went through in that detour, every client I've sat with, every hard conversation, every layer of my own identity I had to strip back and rebuild, that's not lost time. That's the work. The people ahead of me on the scoreboard aren't running my race. They never were. Here's how the comparison trap actually works. Your mind spots someone ahead of you in a lane you care about. This generates a thought. They're winning, which means I'm losing. That thought creates a feeling. Inadequacy, urgency, shame. And most people, when that feeling hits, do one of two things. It either pushes you into frantic, unfocused action, chasing their strategy instead of developing your own, or it shuts you down completely. What's the point? They're already there. Either way, you lose the one thing that actually moves you forward: your clarity about where you're going and why. Let me give you the reframe. Comparison is not the enemy. Unconscious comparison is. There's a version of looking at someone else's work that pulls you forward, sharpens your thinking, and raises your standards. It shows you what's possible. But that only happens when you're rooted in your own direction first. When you know where you're going, someone else's success is just data. When you don't, it's like the judge's verdict. The goal isn't to stop noticing other people. It's to stop letting their scoreboard define yours. I want to give you a practice. Think of someone you've been comparing yourself. Don't judge yourself for it. Just name it. And ask yourself 2 questions. First, do I actually want what they have, or do I just not want to feel behind? Those are very different answers with very different next steps. Second, what would I be building right now if I had never seen their work? Write that down, because that answer, that one that exists before the comparison, that's your true direction. Go there. And if you've been running someone else's race so long you've forgotten where you were headed, book a no-cost clarity call. We'll get you back in your own lane, your own vision, your own next move. You can find the link in the show notes. The comparison trap wasn't designed by your enemies. It was designed by a thought pattern that mistook someone else's progress for evidence of your failure. And when you see it for what it is, not a verdict, just a thought, it loses its grip. You stop running their race and remember why you started yours. This was how the comparison trap is designed for you to fail. Next time is about identity shift. Why the person you're becoming can't be built on the habits of who you used to be. With strength and heart, I'm Shawn Michael. Stay close. Thanks for tuning in to Daily Power Boost. Ignite your potential. Remember, transformation starts with action. So take today's insight, make it your own, and awaken your inner potential. Because remember, greatness begins within. Catch you tomorrow for your next Power Boost.